Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Palolem in Goa, Palolem Beach in Goa. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das, who's also live from South India in Varkala. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to today's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the Amala without any fault, with any, I wonder if they get the Spanish word mala, or, mala means like garbage. Amala, no garbage. It's got no garbage in it, right? Who's Spanish-speaking people? Mala, it's garbage, trash. Oh yeah, I forgot you're half Mexican and half Italian. You know what mala means.
I don't speak Spanish though.
Anyway, Kastuba, we're having a beautiful day in a very wonderful little South Indian town. And how are you in Jellyfish Alley there?
I haven't seen a jellyfish. I've only seen beautiful waters there.
They're there. They're biting your internet cord right now. That's why your internet is so weak. They're chewing away at the...
Just come to terms with it, Raghunath. You made the wrong decision. Just accept it. It's easier once you accept it. You should have come to Varkala.
We're floating on our back in the beautiful Arabian Sea, and you're struggling in the waves trying to save your wife's life. It's horrible. Are you okay? Is everything okay there?
Everything's great. And last night, who was here? It was our friend Brahma Muhurta.
Oh, the Pujari. He's our friend, and he's a professor at RISD, right? Professor
Purohit. I think he's still, I'm not sure if he still does that at RISD, but he's an artist, like he's a photographer. You can't hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
A little choppy.
Okay.
A little choppy.
Well, he's an artist. He's a photographer. He has been an art professor at RISD, and he's down in, he's been spending time down in Mysore just studying all that Purohit kind of stuff, like how to install deities and how to, like studying from these really highly elevated teachers from the Ramanuja Sampradaya. And
let's get him back on the show.
I don't think he's ever been on this show, but he just left.
Let's get him on the show. Let's pick his brain.
We can do it another time. He just left now, but and he had two friends with him from South America, very nice devotees, also studying the same things. And last night we went to the Janardhan Swami temple, Lord Vishnu temple. That's just kind of like right where I'm at. No, as a matter of fact, that's so warmly welcomed there. There are people there that I've very warmly, and I have a few peeps here, because I've come back so many times. So there's one priest that we always connect, and one kind of I imagine she's probably one of the wives of the priest. There's a lady that I always speak to when I'm here too, and so I saw both of them. We were all happy to see each other again after so many years. We saw, the deity of Lord Vishnu, they dress him up different every day, right?
Yeah.
So like some nights they dress him up as or some days they dress him as like Nrsingadev, the half man, half lion, Some days they dress him like this. And last night he's dressed as Krishna. And so we got there. It was like we saw like the last services. we connected. We spent some time speaking to the people there. Then they, then everyone had to leave the temple, and they made the final food offering to Lord Vishnu in the dress of Krishna. And then they let us all in, and they did the final archie. Beautiful. So yeah, it's just super beautiful. And then they gave me some prasad. They handed me like a little package, like all wrapped up like in a banana leaf.
Oh, I love
And I
that.
took it outside. Yeah, I took it outside and I opened it up, and it was like it was a mixture of like bananas, jaggery, and coconut.
Ooh.
And I opened it up, and then the lady that I'm friends with here, I went to offer her some, and then everyone started crowding around me. And it was my birthday. I'm supposed to give charity, right? And so I had a big crowd around
There
me.
you
and
did
I'm
it. You
giving
gave up prasad at a holy place.
There you go. And then what they did for the last thing in the night.
Have you gone to our favorite restaurant down there? Subramaniam's?
Hotel Super Bottom. No, I'm mostly, we're cooking our own meals here, So we got, we have our own pots and everything. Let us cook our own meals. So I don't know if I'll be going there, but at least I'll pop in to say hello, because I like.
You
those
brought
people
your own
too.
pots?
We leave our pots
What
here.
kind of vacation are you on?
No, we leave our pots here. They let us keep them in a box, So when we're here, we can cook our own meal. They're really sweet here. They know what we're into, and they're cool with it. And so then the last thing they did at night was they brought out the little deity of Krishna, and they do like a parade 3 times around the temple. And it's all lit up with all those oil lamps, like thousands of oil lamps on the walls.
It's gorgeous. It's like the whole temple looks like it's on fire with little flames.
It's quite in a nice way. Yeah, it's like
in a wonderful way, not in a
yeah,
towering inferno type of way.
Yeah, in a beautiful way. And they're singing Hare Krishna, they're chanting Maha Mantra as they're going around and around. And Raghunath, it's like you get a glimpse of another world. When you're there, you really get a glimpse of like what it was like. Remember like a week ago or something, I was talking about how, these names have been resounding forever in India.
Yeah.
And in this very temple, it goes back, I mean, the deity goes back many, many, many I've heard that it's said in Mahabharata that Lord Balaram came here, right? So that means like 5,000 years ago.
Sometimes they date the temple, but don't date the deity. Like historians will say, well, this temple was built, but the temples have had many structures, but the deity was installed at a certain date.
Way back, yeah.
So, it's ancient. It's way back.
And at least this temple, we know goes back.
Sometimes you go to these.
Yeah, I was going to say at least this temple, we know it goes back to the time of Shankara, which is like over 1,200 years ago. So, and you just think that they've been chanting this Maha Mantra here for for centuries. For people walking around doing the exact same thing, dressed exactly the same, doing the exact same ritual, singing the exact same mantras, walking in the exact same space for 1,000. And it's just, you have to feel it. If you're tuned into it, you can feel it. And it's very special.
Yeah. You can go to corners of India where you feel like, okay, this could be any time in history right now. It's one of those things. I just remember being in Mayapur with you. I was writing it. I'm finishing my book, man. It's going to be done.
I heard
this
you're
week.
Getting good work done. Look at you.
I'm excited. But I would just remember you and me crossing the Ganga at the times before there were engines on the boats, when they used to just row you across the Ganga. And I remember writing, it was as if we were in another time in history. Some boatman taking us across in the same way Ram gets taken across by the boatman when he goes to the forest.
Mm-hmm. And then you get to the other side, and there's some temple that's been sitting there for so many centuries,
Yeah.
I love it.
It's cool to be connected to something deep like this.
It does something to the psychology.
I was chased by a pack of dogs this morning.
Okay, well, that's not auspicious, Raghunath.
Me and Mary were on a nice japa walk, and then a pack of dogs chased me. And Mary has another story, but she doesn't understand that dogs, when they get together, they can be quite dangerous.
By dogs, it was more like a pack of Labrador puppies wagging their tail that Raghu wanted to beat off with a stick.
Labrador puppies with a chew toy and a ball in their mouths. I think it was more like a pack of wolves.
Okay.
They started barking like fiendishly.
Yipping, like they wanted us to play with them.
No, it was like gnashing of the teeth.
Did he put it in? How
Good
did
thing
he?
there's tongues and drool.
How did he write it up in the book?
I had a stick. Hot, hot, hot.
This is making me question everything in the book now, Raghunath.
She's too trusting of wild beasts.
Okay. Anyway,
anything
just
else happened?
I was just going to say one last thing about that. It's just, there's
Please.
something about the stability of something, just the very fact that human beings can decide we're going to do something right here and continue it for centuries and something beautiful, something esoteric, something with an aesthetic beauty and a deep spiritual purpose, and that we're just going to keep doing this, and they can carry it out for so many centuries. The strength in that lineage, there's something about that psychologically is just stabilizing, whereas like our world is the exact opposite. We watch videos that blip by for 15 years.
Now,
Did you hear me? Okay, maybe people can write on the chat board. I don't know if it's me that's frozen or if everybody else is frozen. Or Raghunath's frozen. Okay, I'm back. So in any case, I'll try to continue and see if we can get Raghunath back. But the point that I was making, I'm not sure if this got through. Okay, you can all hear me, but that to come to a place like this where literally, there's how many generations of people over the centuries, families have been maintaining this exact same ritual, beautiful rituals that are designed to bring your mind to something that's eternal. Just the very fact that the stabilizing effect of that, even setting aside, where we place our faith, like in other words, the faith that one's, communing with the divine through this, but even the fact that something goes on so regularly and so stably that you could come back, you could be born into this place, come back decades later, and they're doing the exact same thing. And what to speak of if you participated in it on a daily basis, what that does to your psychology, what that does to your mind, how psychologically what that does for you. It's very stabilizing compared to like the world that we live in right now, which is like we watch film clips that are 15 seconds long, and after 24 hours they disappear forever. Like that's where our minds are at. Who's gonna be healthier? Who's gonna be healthier? You know what I mean, Rugga? You're back, Rugga?
I'm back, but I sort of caught the end of what you were saying. There's some stability in tradition. There's
stability in tradition.
Stability, which comes from predictability, which comes from understanding a goal and understanding. It's just like, suppose we're just driving and someone says, well, you might want to just check the map. Here's where you are. Here's where you got to get to go. Here's the roads that are closed. Here's where traffic's moving freely. Here's where it's backed up. Here's a detour. Here's the Beltway. Careful, at 5 o'clock, there's traffic there. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, and conversely, I don't know if you heard my point, but conversely, the difference between a person who every day witnesses and participates in a ritual that's been going on for centuries and centuries at the same exact spot every day, you contrast there's the stability of mind they'll have compared to our bizarro world that we're in right now, where what we absorb ourselves in on a daily basis is 15-second videos that disappear after 24 hours forever. Like that's what we're all caught up in.
It's a bizarre world.
Yeah. That's not leading to mental stability. It's leading to, instability and we pay a price for it.
Yeah.
So we got to get some of that in our life one way or another.
It's also interesting. It's like there's no even stability in our identity anymore. Everything is fluid, identity fluid. There is one identity. It's quite simple, everybody. I don't care what externally we identify as. We're spiritual beings. That's the real identity. Want to break all these? You want to connect people on a deeper basis. See everybody as spirit. See everybody as spirit. Treat them like give them the dignity that a spirit soul deserves. See all the animals as spirits. See all the plants as spirits. See the earth itself as a spiritual being. Simple math.
Okay.
Not my brainchild. I didn't make this up. This is the Vedas speaking to us.
And speaking of the Vedas speaking to us, but we haven't had announcements yet.
Yep.
Mara?
Any announcements, Mara? She's knitting away.
Does my knitting bother you?
Does it bother me a little? A little. I like you to be on it. When we have to go to Google, I want you on that thing.
Announcements. We have Back to Recovery group meetings at 1 and 9:30 p.m. today. And there's Back to Recovery group retreat in the UK, March 30th to April 2nd. And if you're interested, you can go to backtorecoverygroup.com for more info and click on the retreats tab.
Yeah, we got a Back to Recovery group retreat happening in England. And I heard it's getting big. People are into it. And that's exciting. We're here with Jiva G right now and the Bright Light of Vermont. And it's exciting. They're excited for it.
All right.
All right. What do you say we dive into the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amala Purana?
I'm ready.
No Mala. Amala. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of our conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta priyeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuruntam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Hey, you know what? A question I wanted to ask our buddy. What's his name? Why can't I remember everything? No, not Shubha Vilas. The Pujari. The Pujari was just on your hand.
Brahma Muhurta.
I want to ask him about, to pick a particular stone or piece of marble. Whoever's looking for the stone to carve, these carvers, they say certain stones already have some type of prana in it. Ever heard that?
Yeah.
It's just not a random piece of stone.
They tap it and it makes a certain sound.
They tap it and it's got to make a particular sound. And then, of course, then they do the prana. Then the priest does the prana pratishta, where they actually call the Lord to enter the stone.
That's the kind of thing he's been studying.
Stuff. Yeah, that's the stuff. Let's pick his brain.
All right.
Let's get him on the show. He can explain it. Yeah, interesting rituals. I will say this stuff would be lost. This would be buried. This stuff is being resurrected now. These were things. They're like these. It's like these people who speak like, what's the original language of Ireland? Like Gaelic. They're like dying. There's languages out there, like the Sioux Indians. They have these languages that are dying that no one learns anymore. But this stuff is being like, there's a renaissance of this stuff. Indian dance, Indian cooking, Ayurvedic medicine, chakra healing. What to speak of yoga? It's the reverse cultural appropriation. Now it's like taking for all the invaders that have like come to India and tried to like give them their culture. Now we're just getting their revenge right now. We will have yoga and kirtan in every town and village. It's quite amazing. It's Patanjali's revenge, I call it.
And you have to think of hand it to someone like Brahma Muhurta, who lives in New York City, has a little free time, and rather than just kind of like running off to the Bahamas, he says, you know what, I'm going to go to South India and study seriously under I'm going to search out some rare teacher, and learn something that's that's been handed, learn this tradition that's been handed down for so long, taking an interest in spending your time that way makes your life so much far more enriched, learning
Sure.
something like that, sharing something like that.
Sure. And I don't want to say that people in India aren't practicing those things. There's still people very sincerely practicing those things, but it's
Sure.
a lot of these people from Russia, from the Eastern Europe, from the United States, from Europeans are coming, studying, and it's almost like these booming renaissance of Vedic culture. It's quite impressive, to see an 11-year-old girl from Ukraine doing Bharatanatyam, or somebody practicing Ayurveda for 30 years from Oregon.
Yeah,
very cool.
Very cool.
Jyotish, Shilpa Shastra.
Well, the two friends that were with him, they were South American. One was from Peru and one was from Chile, and they also are learning they're learning Upanishads. There's just staying there and studying Upanishads, studying Jyotish, studying all these different important.
I should do that. What am I doing with my life? I should be doing that right now. I should be South India studying
you're doing
Jyotish.
what you're doing well, Raghunath.
I know, but I want to be doing other things too. I want to.
You can't do it all.
Feel like
you got to pick something.
In this lifetime, I need to learn Sanskrit. That's just the bottom line.
I don't think you have to, but anyway.
Bottom line.
Okay, let's get into it then. Speaking of Sanskrit, we have the Sanskrit text here.
Okay, Mara, where are we at? Put your knitting needles down, lady.
Reading from Canto 5, Chapter 4, Text 6.
Hit it.
I've noticed about Mara. Ever since
here we go.
Seriously dating. I can't boss around anymore like I used to.
That's right.
Yeah, she gives me a little stink eye.
Mara, could you tell him
Before
to start reading the
yes,
Bhagavatam?
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Okay.
Mara,
Text 6.
Tell him to, thank you.
O Maharaj, break it. To glorify Maharaj Nabi, the old sages composed 2 verses. One of them is this: who can attain perfection of Maharaj Nabi? Who can attain his activities? Because of the bhakti, devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead agreed to become his son. The second prayer is this: who is a better worshiper of the Brahmanas than Maharaj Nabi? Because he worshiped the qualified Brahmanas to their full satisfaction, the Brahmanas, by their Brahminical prowess, showed Maharaj Nabi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, in person.
Okay. So these are just
text 8.
Well, just hold it for a second. So these are verses. Let's get a little context, right? We were reading about the birth of Lord Vishnu himself, taking birth in the family of a powerful king whose name was Maharaj Nabi. But he wasn't just a king, right? He was deeply devoted king, and he had a whole retinue of priests, that he would perform ritual with, and his desire was to have a great son. These aren't entirely selfish desires. These are desires to kind of like protect the people and do well for the people. If there's good leadership, things go well, and when there's not good leadership, things get really messed up. And so he wanted.
It's that simple.
In what sense is that simple?
Coming from an American democratic country, we sort of, we really are taught from growing up, like the concept of a king. It's a horrible thing. How dare they think, who is this person who has some divine right, as divinity gave this person right? And the Bhagavatam starts the whole other thing. These are the divine rights of kings. They are uniquely connected with higher beings. They have this dharma where they are like inspired to follow the Brahmins and practice dharma. And what you said is basically true. It's got nothing to do with our leaders, good or bad. It's how are the leaders behaving? If you have a king and he's behaving well, or if you have a CFO of a corporation and a president, and they're behaving with the appropriate dharma and laying down the law and trying to create boundaries so people could basically, live in peace. That's a wonderful thing. You don't have to be corrupt to be a leader, and just because you're a leader. You can be a great leader, or you can be a horrible leader. We've seen them all in our lifetime, practically speaking. And the same was true with kings. If a king was courageous and noble and brave and charitable and kind and merciful, yet had some,
Virtuous.
boundaries and virtuous, that's a great king. And that's why these cultures, even European cultures, you'll still see pictures of their king, even though it's a king in name only. Where was I recently? Belgium or something. I saw the picture of the king on the wall, or or in Thailand, of course, you see the pictures of the king everywhere. There's an idea that the king is connected. It may not be true anymore, but that was there, and you'll hear about that a lot. The history of saintly kings on the planet.
And the history, this was before there were documentaries or things like that. So the history was recorded in Sanskrit verses of poetry like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the way that you could hand out. Who was it that was ruling at that time? What would they like? And so the brahmanas, these scholars, would compose Sanskrit poetry, about them. And here's the two, here's it listed 2 verses that were meant to glorify him. And of course, these were exceptional, exceptional qualifications. One is that God became his son. That's a pretty big one, if you can pull that off. That's a trust builder. And 2,
if Joe Biden gives birth to the personality of Godhead,
I'll vote for him.
Right. I'll vote for him the next time around.
Okay. And then 2, the second one was that his brahmanas were able to call Lord Vishnu to appear, and if Biden can do that, if Trump can do that, I'll vote for him.
So this is this is not an ordinary. We tend to, when people, or even maybe especially academia, read these books, are like, what interesting stories, what fascinating myths. No, this is a history book. We're talking about the history of Vedic kings. And because things are fantastic, we'll immediately write it off as this is mythology. This is some fascinating stories meant to teach some higher lessons. No, this is the history of the universe, according to the authors themselves.
Yeah, history, not exactly history like it's necessarily trying to line up everything in perfect chronological order or anything, but it's a spiritual message coming through a history, right? It's like, it's making it practical. It's not just like it's ephemeral, but it's saying, hey, there are lineages here. Let's follow them. And these are lineages of, again, Bhagavatam is really history of kings and sages. Those are the main characters that we have there. Some queens are involved there, some princesses, some princes, but it's royal families and sages, and especially, like the relationships between them is the majority of what Bhagavatam is.
Yep.
And so, it's a spiritual message coming in that context.
And then there's me, lowborn, dented cans. All right.
Okay, so let us continue, huh?
Let's continue, my friend. Text 8.
Text 8.
After Nabi Maharaj departed for Badarik Ashram, right? That's the same place that Vyasadeva wrote the Vedas. The Supreme Lord Rishabhadeva understood that his kingdom was his field of activities. He therefore showed himself as an example and taught the duties of a householder by first accepting brahmacharya, right, under the direct direction of the spiritual masters. So that's celibate studentship. He also went to live at the spiritual master's
and let's hold it right
place.
there. I was just saying we have a little delay, so it's a little hard to work together. I'm sorry.
Sorry
but
about that.
I found that interesting that it said it says he understands. It said, here's what it said. So now Rishabhadeva, that's the son of his father Nabi, just went off to the mountains. Rishabhadeva is now in charge, right? And it says he understood that the kingdom is my field of activities. This is where it's through my rule that I will be doing my spiritual practice. It's the field of my activities. This is my focus. And he said, but I need to show the right example. And he taught the duties of a householder, right? So in other words, of a married person, he wants to show the duties of a married person. But he says, but what are the first duties of a married person? He says it's actually accepting brahmacharya under the direction of spiritual masters. In other words, marriage wasn't just something that we just do it because we become infatuated with a person, or
it's done out of infatuation.
Yeah, but the idea was here was that it was the idea was there. We're going to get married when we get older. Let us prepare ourselves for that by instilling the right values in the youth, right? So that he would be
Preparation precedes commitment.
Oh, look at that!
I like that.
Takeaway there. Preparation
Write that
precedes-
down, madam. Well,
Yeah.
another thing is, oftentimes in the way they teach it in yoga teacher trainings now is, let me ask you a question. How do
Okay.
they teach brahmacharya? What do they teach brahmacharya
Well-
is when if someone's giving a teacher training, how would they say it? I'm just curious to
yeah.
how you've heard it explained by yoga teachers.
And of
in
course,
America.
well, I'll say it's very different from how I've heard it taught by people that are deep into the culture, right?
Exactly. So let me hear how they would explain it.
So normally what they would do is they would translate it literally, right? So like Brahma, you could translate it as spiritual, and achar means behavior. So they say, well, it means spiritual behavior. Now that can mean anything that you want it to mean, right?
Right.
Like,
Anything, especially in terms of modern culture, which has lowered the bar tremendously of dharma, duties, ethics, etc.
Yeah. Right. Now if you hear the term within the tradition, how it's been used within the tradition, it's very clear. Like for instance, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, where brahmacharya is listed, I think as the second yama, right? Second or third. But so it's like it's up high on the list of like how a yogi is meant to behave. There you go right to all the classical commentators, and not one of them is going to miss the target that this has to do with
Not one
controlling
of
your
them.
sex desire. You know,
Not one of them is going to say it's about balance.
Or if you go to a book like Mahabharata, where Bhishma, as a young man, takes a vow of brahmacharya, right? And everyone
Sure.
immediately understood the significance of this. This meant that he was never going to have sex. He was never going to have kids, right?
Sure.
He took a
And
lifelong
he was a
vow,
warrior, which
right?
is sort of against the nature of a warrior is
Unusual.
is they're
Yeah,
in
for
their
warrior.
ego a little bit,
Yeah.
and therefore they need that they're definitely going to be married, have a big family. So in those days,
Yeah.
multiple queens probably.
So there you'll find the word brahmacharya, and it's clear the context in which it's used in the tradition. So yeah, so here we're hearing that, but anyone that's going to do well in marriage, would be trained previously as a celibate student. And that means celibate means they're learning to control their senses. They're learning to serve, really.
Yeah.
And they're also learning really good spiritual values. What's important in life, because when I do get married, those things that are potentially problematic for yoga, the things that potentially captivate your mind, like sex and money, now I'm going to dive in head first into that. I need to have my head set straight. I need to have clear thinking on this. I need to understand the pros as well as the cons of that, so that I can pass through it in a way where it's leading towards my own evolution and the evolution of everyone that I'm connected to, like my spouse, like my children, my extended family, my neighborhood, my community.
Sure. I will say brahmachari ashram helped me as a dad.
That's right.
Being
sure it
a
did.
brahmachari helped me be a dad. Helped me
sure it
in
did.
a marriage.
Yeah.
My failed marriage helped me in that. Helped me in
Well, your wife never practiced.
I'm glad I can laugh at this.
Yeah. No, but hey, I believe anyway. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I'm sure your ex-wife would have benefited.
Let's tear
from it if
apart
she-
my marriage and where it went.
I'm not meant to.
Why don't we do
I'm not
that?
tearing apart, but I'm just saying, it would have been easier to share values that way if she would have had some of that background.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So that was the first thing that he did, was that he to teach the duties of a householder. First, he accepted brahmacharya under the direction of spiritual masters. What next? He also went to live at the spiritual master's place, the Gurukula.
He also went to live at the spiritual master's place, the Gurukula, right? That's like a
Yeah.
boarding school where you sort of just move in with the guru. And the guru trains you how to behave.
Mhm.
Yeah. After, by the way, these are still things that go on today. Did I ever tell you about the guy I met in South India once? The mystic pranayam guy? Very interesting
Uh,
guy.
I know that you've been looking around for secret pranayama
It's in my book,
mantras.
and I just remembered the story. But I asked him if he had any children, and he said, well, I have none, but some people in my tradition, as soon as they give birth, they give the children to the ashram if it's a boy. I was like,
That's scary.
what? He goes, yes, yes, yes. I go, why would you ever give your child to the ashram? And I was a brahmachari, and he was saying, well, you're a brahmachari. I thought you would understand this to develop. He said the child is loved, they're cared for, they're trained in the Vedas, they're trained in Sanskrit, they're trained, and you hear stuff like that all the time. That sometimes they're given to the ashram to be raised by the sannyasis.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm not recommending.
I'm not recommending it, but if you want a happy, if the win here is you actually care about the child.
Oh, I don't know if Rugga froze up or me. If someone on chat board can let me know. My guess is it's probably Rugganath. Okay, so Rugg was frozen, so I will try to carry on and we'll try to get him back. But I was very curious about his story about meeting this person, but Raghunath was saying, he was sharing a story of this person that he met that was saying that, in his village or in his community, that young boys would be they say given to the guru, but hey, you turn someone over, they're kind of put through training, and that training can be like the depth of the culture. Raghunath was saying he doesn't recommend it, and I'll say the same thing too, because I've seen it trying to be reproduced in the modern age, and I've seen some incredible people come through it, but I've also heard there's unfortunately been a lot of horror stories because when parents aren't right there, nobody cares for the child usually as much as the parent. And so there's always, danger of some sort of abuse or something like that. So I'm definitely not recommending it. But that being said, there is an amazing, it can be an amazing way to learn and be trained. And, since Raghunath's not here, I'll share a story. This story might freak people out, but it's an interesting story just to show something about, something about the culture. But it's a story, and I recently checked with some South Indian people, and they said, no, this is a true story. It's a bit of a legend that took place, not like a legend that goes way back, but a legend that goes back some decades, about a family that was visiting. It was a young family, a husband and wife, and they had a little baby, and they were visiting the temple in Tirupati, in Tirumala. It's the most visited. I think it's not only the most visited temple in India. I believe it's the most visited religious place in the world, like more than the Vatican, and or maybe even the most visited place in the world. For thousands of years, every Hindu in India feels like at some point in my life I need to go there. I need to go visit Tirupati. So this family, when you go there, you get there's so many thousands of people there every day that you get darshan of the deity of Lord Vishnu there. In other words, you get to see him, but it's only for a few moments. And you wait in a long line for that opportunity, and you finally have it. You say a quick prayer, and you look at the form of Lord Vishnu that people have been coming to for so many centuries, and you feel blessed by that. And so then after that, they'd walked out of there, and they have a thing in Indian temples called a hundi, which is generally some form of a box where you leave a donation. People like to come and leave a donation to support. And in Tirupati, because there's so many visitors, the hundi is kind of like a big, almost like a hamper or something like that, but it's quite high. It's like a cloth kind of big bag. And, it's always considered auspicious. You want to give your child the opportunity to drop the donation in. So they gave the little baby an envelope or maybe a bill, to drop in, and they held the baby up to the top. And when they held the baby up, by mistake, they dropped the baby into the hundi, right? Their little child dropped in there. It's like, oh no. So they went and found the temple priests. And this is going to freak people out. This is another world, another culture. But what the priests said was, they found the priest that said, we dropped our baby in the hundi. Could you please help us get the baby out? And the priest, you're sharing the story. So
hundi box story again.
The hundi
favorites.
Well, again, this one, if any story we tell needs like the whole long, detailed list of warnings of like, we do not recommend this, or but at the
We
same
do
time,
not
there's
recommend
something
dropping your child in the hundi box.
yeah, well, like if you dropped your child, let me ask you, Ragnar, if you dropped little Tarun in the hundi
Yeah.
box, like when he was like, like 8 months old or something like that, and the priest came and they said, I'm sorry. And this is what they said. So I haven't gotten to this part of the story yet. They said, we're sorry, but anything that's dropped in the hundi is given as a donation to Lord Vishnu. And really, we're not able to give the child back, but we assure you that this child be raised here in the temple community and trained to become a deeply learned and saintly person. We guarantee you this. And the parents said, they must have had very deep faith, and they said, okay, we feel that this is what the Lord's desire. This must be the Lord's desire. And now the story continues that obviously they must have really been like having some very deep feelings about this as they're driving home. And on their way home, driving home, they got into a horrible car accident wherein everyone died. Yeah. So that child, apparently the life of the child was saved.
Well, I had this realization.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, and I think I told it on the show before, that I was in Vrindavan with a friend and a few, maybe Mara, and we wandered into this old, forest grove, and I met this 80-year-old man sweeping up, and we got a translator, and we started talking to him, and he said that. Not Hari Bhajan. This was a few years ago.
Okay.
I was actually looking for Hari Bhajan's ashram, and there was an old man, and he said he was sweeping up because Radha and Krishna dance here at night. And I asked him his story, how long has he been here for? And he said, I came here when I was 14. And a sadhu came to his house, maybe at even 12, I think he said. A sadhu came to his house in Rajasthan where he lived with his parents. His parents had 10 children. And the sadhu said, I want one of your sons as an assistant. And his mother gave him to the sadhu. Yeah. And as a father, I was like, oh my God, they just gave you away. I said, what happened to the sadhu? He said, the sadhu died, and I lived here since, on my own since I was 20, something like that. And I was thinking, wow, this sadhu, he goes, yeah, the sadhu was like my father. He trained me. And now this guy is like, you could tell he's like a very God conscious, Krishna conscious 80-year-old man. And I was thinking, well, what is a win? What is a win for a father? That I want to control the kid? I want him to do the things I want him to do, or that I want him to be a spiritually conscious son? If that's, why do I have to have my hand involved in that if it's a divine arrangement that he goes somewhere else? And I was really struggling with that, and recently, and this comes to a recent thing, I was like, I got this message from my ex. I don't know if I should tell this on the show, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I got this message from my ex. She's like, okay, I signed up Tarun. I signed up Tarun for a breakdancing class. And I was like, and he needs to be dropped off there at 4:00 every day. I was like, I don't want him learning breakdancing. I don't want him learning breakdancing. I want him learning how to do, there's so many things I'd rather him learning than how to breakdance. Right. Which is, and I have him learn Sanskrit, have him learn mridanga, have him learn Bharatanatyam. So I'm saying, we just want to teach the kids anything just to fill up their plate, so to speak, or do we want to lead them somewhere? And hundi box. I get it. And he was probably raised a great soul. Life is short. Let's do something deeply connected.
And of course, I think both of the stories that we just told are coming, the parents in both cases, are raised on hearing stories like the Ramayana, where was it Vaishishta or was it Valmiki? Not Valmiki, but was it Vaishishta that came and, to Dasarath and said, I want to take your sons, right?
Oh, yeah, it was Vishwamitra or Vishishta? Vishwamitra said, I want your sons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dasarath, in other words, cried.
His Ram's father was King Dasarath, who, when he sees a sage like Vishwamitra walk in the door. Hey, anything that I can do for you, you ask for me, I'll do it for you. I trust you. I trust your
Careful what you say.
saintliness. Yeah, right. I trust your saintliness. I trust your good intentions. I trust, I'm the ruler and I've got all the power, but you're a simple living person with a pure mind and heart. You tell me what you want, I'll make it happen. And he said, I want your sons. What? It's like,
right.
that was the one thing. No, I'm going to take them. I'm going to train them. They're going to, but I would like to take your sons. And it was like the most heartbreaking thing he had to do. But he said, okay, take my sons. And of course, they came back.
Yeah, if in our culture where we believe we got to huddle together and stay very attached, I think this is like sort of foreign. This is foreign. I don't know. Maybe there was
boarding schools aren't entirely foreign, but
yeah,
it's in one sense it's not so much different than that.
Henry was sent away to boarding school, military school, I think.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any case, we're not recommending this, but we're just putting in some context, right? So you were telling a story that you never finished before you got cut off, wasn't it? That
I can't remember.
Or did you finish it? You were saying that you're
remember.
pranayam, this pranayam person you met, pranayam guru, and you asked them why would people give their children away to the sadhus? They said,
and he
come
looked
on,
at
you were
me
a
and said,
brahmachari.
you should know this for detachment. That's why. And it's very
detachment.
difficult. And that's why we practice it. It was part of we're not recommending this, but in this particular lineage, this is what sometimes householders would do. They'd say, I have a son, I'm going to practice detachment. The monks want to take this son.
As scary as it
thing.
sounds, let's just say we're certain that there have been many very special people that were raised that way. Right?
Well, there's that guy who's the head acharya of the Bihar School of Yoga. I think he was given to what was the previous guru that left his body?
I forget their names. Yeah, Satyananda.
I think. Satyananda. I can't remember.
I think it may have been Satyananda, and maybe another one was named Sadananda. I'm not sure though.
I can't remember. His name is.
But that story I think is a little. I think there's a little something else to that story that's a little.
Really? Well, anyway, we don't know. We don't know.
Like it really was his son. We won't get into that.
Hare Krishna. I don't know if that's true. Maybe. Hare Krishna.
Well, I think it's common.
Or who else did that? Another story was if you ever read what's that cool book by Swami Rama on Life of the Himalayan Masters. Yeah, how a sadhu came to his parents and he said, I'm going to come and ask a favor in 3 years. You're going to give me you're going to have a birth of a child and I'm going to come back for that child. And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like 45 years old. I'm not going to have a child. And they had a child late in life. And the Swami came back and took that child and raised Swami Rama in the ashram.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. Interesting. That's a good book. Life of the Himalayan Masters. Read that book. Right. Look, are you writing that down? I think you're writing it down because Stu was writing.
I wasn't writing it down. No, I was checking the time.
Life of the Himalayan
I have my own
Masters.
Okay. I've heard about it. All right, so we continue this verse. So far he's practicing brahmachari and he went to live in the Gurukula, in the spiritual master's home. What else did he do to prepare?
After his education was finished, he gave gifts, guru dakshin, right? You give your
That's what you do.
Guru some tuition, some present to his spiritual masters, and then accepted life of a householder. He took a wife named Jayanti, and he begot 100 sons who were as powerful and qualified as he himself. His wife Jayanti had been offered to him by Indra, the king of heaven. Oh, isn't a name for Indra Jayant?
Jayanta.
Am I getting that wrong? Jayanta. Jayanti would be the daughter of Jayanta. Maybe that's what it means. Rishabhadeva and Jayanti perform householder life in an exemplary way, carrying out ritualistic activities ordained by Shruti and Smriti Shastras. So the Shruti is that which is remembered. No. Smriti is that which is remembered. Shruti is that which is spoken.
That's right. In other words, it said that the Shruti, like ancient texts like the Vedas and the Upanishads, that these are just like direct revelations heard from God, like directly. Whereas the Smritis, which means that's what's been remembered, it was meditated upon and drawn in by sages who then spoke it. And that means like Mahabharata and Puranas and Ramayana. Yeah. Okay.
Of Rishabhadeva's 100 sons, the eldest, named Bharat, was a great exalted devotee qualified with the best attributes. In his honor, this planet has become known as Jiva G Life Coaching. Do you know this one? Wait a second. I want to see, what is the name of this planet? What is the name of India? Jiva G, come on. You weren't even listening. She like sits at this podcast and just gets on her phone. It was Bart. This country's name is Bart. This planet is Bart Varsh. Which come from Rishabhadeva's son, eldest son.
Yeah. So what's happening here is a lot of the fourth canto is being set up, being framed right now, right? Because the next chapter is when Rishabhadev teaches his sons, and those teachings become very important. As a matter of fact, I believe they even become the basis of Jainism, like a whole nother kind of religious offshoot, right?
Offshoot of Vedic teachings, sure.
Yeah, but so that's going to be, we're going to hear more about Rishabhadev, but then we're also going to hear about the several lives of Bharata, right? Both including his life as a king, his life as a deer, and then his life as a human again. So that's going to take up a lot of the next chapters. We're going to be hearing about Rishabhadev.
So it's the same Bart, correct? It's the same Bart,
yes.
Correct?
Correct.
It's the same Bart, yeah? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Text 10.
There's a good one. Why pop and lock? Text 10. Oh, we're running out of time here. Following Bart, there were 99 other sons. Among these were 9 elderly sons named Kushavarta, Ilavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Bhadrasen, Indrasprik, Vidarbha, and Kikata. How do you remember all your kids at that point?
It's not easy.
I got a feeling it was a different relationships dad had with their kids back then. Now dads are like, we're best friends. Mine wasn't like that. I don't think I've ever played ball with my dad. He was good. He was responsible, but he was not my buddy. We changed things up in our generation. You notice that, Costume?
Okay. I think things are, yes, I'm here. Things get mixed up. Okay. Are you frozen or am I frozen? People, let us know.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and go for the takeaways?
Takeaways, my brother?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Tune into the power of ancient sacred places.
Yeah.
There's strength and stability in tradition.
There's strength and stability and tradition. In tradition. There's strength and stability in tradition.
Yeah. There's only one identity, pure spirit soul.
Okay.
That's it.
Preparation precedes commitment.
Tattoo that.
Brahmachari doesn't mean balance.
It means more than that.
Brahmachari doesn't mean balance. No, it doesn't.
What's a parenting? Yeah. What's a parenting win?
What is it, parenting win?
Life is short. Do something deeply connected.
How about drop them in the hundi?
We don't recommend that.
That's right. We don't recommend that.
And
yeah.
And why pop and lock when you can play mridanga?
Oh, yeah. Why pop and lock when you can play mridanga? I like that. Thank you. Okay, everybody, that's their show today. Tune in tomorrow. What time there tomorrow?
Same time tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time.
6:30 a.m. Eastern time. I want to thank all the people who are making this boat float. All our Patreon supporters. $1 a day, $30 a month, right? You don't think a Stuba's worth $30 a month? He is. You're worth much more than $30 a month, Stuba.
Thank you.
Go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in despite our crazy schedule and our lousy internet connection. It's evening time here. You guys are going to have a great day. I've already lived this day for you. It's February 1st. I've already lived February 1st. It's a great day. You're going to have a wonderful day today. It's going to be a magical day today. The sun's setting here as the sun's rising in New York. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And if you like what we're doing, go to Apple Podcasts, write us a review, give us 5 stars. It helps all the magic happen. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you got to press the subscribe bell, and you got to write some comments on the show. Thanks, everybody. You're beautiful. It's a wonderful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow. Harry Bowl.